Okay, we see a lot of you here tonight. We want to welcome you. We're so excited to be able to share this night celebrating with Kelleen, our wonderful hiker. We love her. And it's Beth's birthday today. So Beth is spending her birthday evening with us celebrating Kelleen. So happy birthday, Beth. Um, I'm going to introduce myself and then Beth will, and then we're going to kind of turn the time over to Kelleen. So I'm Wendy Reynolds, and I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. I've been in Brightline Eating for 5 years. I'm down 120 pounds and I'm just landing the plane. So I'm excited to be here. I resumed almost a year ago. So it's been a rough, rocky road, but I'm finally figuring this thing out. So Beth?
I am Beth Monroe and I live in Benson, Arizona. And I have been doing Brightline Eating since 2017. And I've been in maintenance for a little over 3 years now. So
thanks, Beth. So we want you to know this is being recorded, but if anybody has questions throughout, just raise your hand. Beth is hosting and she'll watch for raised hands, or you can write your question in the chat because Kelleen's really, she's a natural teacher and loves to answer questions. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Beth, and she's going to start out by telling her Brightline Eating story first, and it's amazing.
Kelleen's going to tell her
story. Who did I say?
You said Beth.
Beth is not going to tell her story. Kelleen is going to tell her story. And so you'll get to learn all about Kelleen. So her name is Kelleen Facer. She's in the community. So if any of you guys fall in love with her like we have, you can reach out to her through Messenger and we'll help connect you guys. So we're going to turn the time over to Kelleen.
Thank you. I'm so excited that you are all here. It's so touching. Brings tears to my eyes, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I started Brightline Eating in October of 2018. I got serious about Brightline Eating in January of 2020, and I have been bright ever since. And I have lost 100. Well, my top weight was 285, and I have lost 130 pounds. The part of that was lost before Brightline Eating, but I've been able to keep it off for 4.5 years and have stayed bright for almost 5. So that's my Brightline Eating story. So we're going to be watching a video now, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the video as we go along. But first of all, we're going to hear a song that one of the guides on my trek for Kilimanjaro, they sing this to you every day, and we started singing it with them every day, and it's so much fun. So if you start singing, just enjoy and sing with us. So
and then Kelleen is going to talk through the other pictures and videos that you'll see. So it's 4 minutes long. We made it 5 minutes ago, so we hope this works.
And I'm the one on the far right. This is my group that I hiked with. There's 12 of us.
We're still figuring this out.
Sorry, just 1 second. That right? Yeah.
Jennifer, I can see you're unmuted. Can you see it?
Oh, no, let me mute me. Sorry.
No. Can you, I did that on purpose. Can you see
it? Yes, we can see it.
Can you guys see it? That's what
we can see it. We can see it.
Here we go. All right, here we go.
If I do this, start to shoot.
Okay.
Yeah. Say yeah. Kilimanjaro. Pole. Wah. Say wah. Kilimanjaro. Pole. Say Hakuna Matata.
Just so you guys know, Hakuna Matata is said all the time in Tanzania, and they have never seen Lion King. I'm just letting you know that. These are the pictures of my group and some of the porters, some of the guides. This is showing you the peak. We got to see the peak for the first time, and the snow is the glaciers. This is as we're going up the mountain. This is the same guy that was just singing with us. He and I were taking a picture. And this is the food that they fed me for breakfast. This was one of my breakfasts. They gave me great food. And this is the peak. we are all up at the peak right there, Hooroo Peak. And my best friend and I, Claudia, are the ones that climbed this together. This is our head guide. He told me on the first day that he would do push-ups with me on the top of Kilimanjaro. And he and I did 10 push-ups together on the top of Kilimanjaro. It was so fun. It was great. This is me holding up the clouds on Kilimanjaro. There's always clouds. Me and a friend coming down, starting to come down. There's the glacier right behind. You can see the glacier. There's tons of glaciers all over. These are little ice formations that have just naturally formed. They're beautiful. This is the first day, the first camp that we got to, and we are in the rainforest. We got to see a lot of monkeys, and we got to hear them all night long as they screeched. These are the cooks that did an amazing job. They're so talented. It was amazing. Then I just wanted to show you this picture because of the porters as they're wearing our packs on their heads. It was amazing. These are pineapple trees. They are the most beautiful trees ever. Again, this is just showing us as a group. This is called the Lava Tower. This is a place that's 15,000 feet. You hike high, sleep low. We go down to another camp after that. This is called Kissing Rock on the Bronco Wall, and we're scaling the wall. This is the second camp that we go to, called Monroe Camp. And then this is the Bronco camp right before the Bronco Wall. It was the only time it rained on us. Here's the Bronco Wall. So this is a wall that you scale up, and it's so much fun. It is a scramble. I would call it a scramble, light scramble. So you're holding hands coming up the rock. That's me coming up the rock right there. And the porters and guides are telling us exactly where to put our hands, where to put our feet.
This is you right here?
This is me.
In the blue hat?
In the blue hat.
Here she comes.
Gray hat, blue jacket. Yep, that's me. It was the most incredible part of the hike. Really, I loved it. This is Lamosho Gate. This was at the end. This was where the story all began when Claudia and I talked, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. This was me hiking. No matter how large or small I've been, I've always loved to hike, and it's easier to hike without the 130 pounds on. I can just tell you that. This is our group, and we had so much fun together. It was so great. So I want to tell you about the dream that happened 10 years ago on January 1st of this next year. My friend and I, Claudia, were hiking around on Antelope Island here in Utah. And I said, when we're 80, we're going to hike Kilimanjaro. And she said, we're not going to hike Kilimanjaro. And I said, yes, we are. We're going to hike Kilimanjaro. And she said no. So then I, it was a challenge to get her to hike Kilimanjaro. So for the next couple of years, every time we hiked, I said, we're going to hike Kilimanjaro. She's like, no, we're not going to hike Kilimanjaro. So finally, about 2 years later, she goes, I've been researching it, and I think we can hike Kilimanjaro. And so we started looking into it, and we actually put money down to hike Kilimanjaro. Well, at that time, I broke my foot. And then a year later, she tore her meniscus. And then we were getting ready to go again, and COVID hit, and nobody hiked. Nobody was allowed on the mountain. And so it was postponed for a long time until 2023. And in 2023, we each got an email that said, if you don't use the money that you've put down, you're going to lose it. You have to use it in 23 or 24. And I just started crying because I had told myself that Claudia would never hike Kilimanjaro after we had gone through all of that. And then she called me a couple of days later and said, did you get the email? And I said, yeah, did you? And she said, yeah. She said, would you go if they would do your food the way you need to have your food? Because I was doing Bright Line Eating then. Would you go? And I said, would you? And she says, yes, I would. And so I called the company and I asked them, I told them exactly what I eat. And I said, could you do this? And I have to preface that by saying that I tried another hike, rim to rim, that I was going to have guides take me on. They told me that they could do my food. And then when it came right down to it, I asked them if they were still going to do my food. And he said, that's a challenge. And I said, are you up for the challenge? And he said, no, we're not. We can't pack that much food. So when I called over there, about Kilimanjaro, he said, let me call Tanzania and ask them if they'll do it for you. And they called and they said, yes, we have a garden on the bottom of in the bottom of Tanzania, and we can make that food happen. And so they agreed to do it. And I called him 4 times to make sure that they could do my food for me. And every time they said, yes, no sugar, no flour, and all those vegetables, and we can do this. So
Can we ask you a
So
couple
we-
questions about that?
yes,
So did you look at several companies, or how did you know which company to ask? You guys don't know, but she eats a lot of vegetables. So I know she guides Beth and they talk every day. And then on my walks, we talk every day. So for a solid year, we've been listening to her talk about how to do this and how to do her food right and how to stay bright. So I know it's going to sound really quick and short and easy in her little presentation here, but Kelleen put a lot of heart and soul into this. So tell us how that happened.
so when I looked at different companies, there were 2 things that made me decide this company. First of all, Claudia does not hike well at night, so you have to wear a headlamp. And all of the other companies, except for Thompson, all of them start a midnight ascent up to the peak. And so you're hiking for 5 or 6 hours with a headlamp on, and she gets sick, physically sick, and starts throwing up. And I knew that that wouldn't work. So we needed a daytime ascent, and Thompson was the only company that did a daytime ascent. The other thing that was really important for us was we looked at the porters, and the porters are the ones that carry your things up and that take everything for you and set everything up. They were dressed nice in the pictures, and other companies, like I watched you guys as the porters lost the bottom of their shoes as they were going up, carrying all this weight on their neck and on their back and on their chest. They probably had 75 to 100 pounds of stuff on their bodies, and they were losing the bottom of their shoe, the sole of their shoes, and they kept going. They didn't stop, and they didn't stop all the way to the top. Didn't matter if it was raining, it didn't matter what it was doing. They still went, and that to us wasn't acceptable. We needed a company that was going to make sure that their people were outfitted nice and that they had the right gear, and that was just as important for us to have the right gear as it was for their porters to have the right gear. And all of our porters were dressed very well, and they had coats on the nights that it was cold. They had nice suits that they could wear. It was amazing. So that was an important thing for us. But the other thing was the food. To make sure that they could handle my food was a huge part of what we did. And this guy back in Maine, he he had
So
my
is the
phone calls.
company headquartered in the United States?
They're
Okay.
headquartered in the United States. Most of their hikers are all United States driven, just because that's where the company starts from. There's other companies in other parts of the world. We met people from all over, but they weren't in the company we were with. But the guy in Maine was just probably sick of hearing from me. And I asked him all the time, Joshua, what do you think? Are they going to have my food? Is this place going to have my food? Is this place going to have my food? And he said, I have talked to every one of them, and they've all said that they will have your food for you. So it was so important to me. So that's how I prepared. And then of course I prepared for the flights. I made sure I had my dehydrated vegetables in my Mylar bag so that I could have my vegetables on the plane to and from. And then I was able to find protein to have and fats and vegetable and fruit. So that's how I did my food. And it was something I couldn't carry with me. I had no choice. I didn't have enough weight. I could only have a 33-pound bag, and I couldn't carry even dehydrated vegetables. I was barely making it with 33 pounds, and I didn't take everything I was supposed to have. So that was the thing.
So how many days were you from the time you got on the airplane? And I know you flew to Amsterdam and then to Tanzania. How many days between the time you got on the airplane till you finished and got off the mountain? Was that like 11 or 12 days that you were?
So the total hike was 9 days, and it took us 3 days before
Okay.
Yeah.
So 12 days.
12 days
Yeah.
total before, by the time I got on the plane till the time I got off the mountain, it was 12 days.
Did you talk to any Bright Lifers or any other people about travel or kind of
I
going
did.
out? Yeah.
I
and
did.
what-
I called some other people. Actually, there's a gal named Vicky who lives in Colorado, who did Kilimanjaro the same time I did. She did a different route than I did. And she and I haven't talked yet. We actually text today back and forth, but she did a 5-day route and I did a 9-day route. And I can't wait to talk to her. We're going to be able to talk about the differences of our hikes and what we liked about them. So
Kelleen has been home 2 days.
Yeah.
So she's just trying to get acclimated again.
yeah.
And Beth, all three of us are like people persons. So Beth, who do you want her to talk about next?
I would love to hear about the hikers that you hiked with.
Okay, so there were 12 hikers total. We had a couple of older guys that were there. There was a 71-year-old and a 69-year-old. The 71-year-old was very unsure on his feet. He had to have a lot of help. His son was 25 and he came along with, but he didn't really want a whole lot to do with his dad as far as helping him. So he stayed at a different part of the trail than his dad. His dad was kind of in the back and he was kind of up. Actually, his dad was up front, this kid was in the back. But he was sick most of the week. So he kind of just hung to himself. And the dad actually fell a couple of times and he did a really big fall the night before we summited. But he was able to make it with the help of the porters and the guides. He was able to make it to Stella Point. So I'll tell you right now that at the top is a crater and you get to a place called Stella Point, and that's the first peak you get to. And then it's about another 300 feet up to Huru Peak, which is the actual peak of Kilimanjaro. And he made it to Stella Point, which we were all so proud of him. We all cried when he made it there. It was so exciting. We took pictures. It was great. And then the rest of us went on. So 11 of us actually summited Huru and he summited Stella. So
Awesome.
that was amazing.
So it was a mixture of ages and
mixture
men
of
and
ages,
women?
men and women. We had like 5 women and 7 men, and they were and ranged 71 to 25, mostly in the 50s. Most of us were in the 50s,
Nice.
50s, early
How old
60s.
are you?
I'm 55.
55.
So
Cool.
yeah, most of us were in that age range.
Do you have 11 new best friends?
I do.
Oh, good.
We're all tight and we all had so much fun together. We just
Oh.
grew so close so fast. It was amazing.
It looks like Maria.
Maria, do you have a question?
Do you want to unmute
Go
Maria
ahead and
and
unmute
ask
yourself.
it?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Oh, what? Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Great. Oh, wow. It's just so good to hear this. It's so inspiring. I'm just wondering, because you know how we read about how many people are now climbing Mount Everest and the difficult and challenging impact on the planet and what's happening on the mountain, etc. Kilimanjaro, I mean, how busy is it? Do you know, like, are there lots and heaps of people climbing it? I mean, I have a friend who's climbed it many years ago. I know it's very challenging, and she also had to manage because of type 1 diabetic. Did you observe rubbish? Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, the challenging impacts on the planet.
That's a great question. Really great question. We did talk to the porters and the guides about that a lot. It was something we were very concerned about. At any one given time, probably today, there's 5,000 people on that mountain. There's 5 different routes that you can take on Kilimanjaro. And it's not as technical as Everest by far. It's not technical. It's not a technical climb. You don't have to rope in. We didn't have any snow that we went through. We were in the very end of the dry season, so it was very dry. If you go closer to the rainy season, you're probably going to have to wear some spikes, but I took my spikes, but I didn't have to wear them. But we did talk about the dirt. So on Kilimanjaro, their rangers are so good. Every single camp, you have to sign in at a ranger station. And when you sign in, they count for every single person that's there. They care about their environment so much that there was one place, there's a higher place that you can camp that people don't sleep at before they summit. It's not a great choice necessarily, but there was a mess when we came down, and we went to the ranger station, and our guide went and talked to them, and boy, they got people up there real fast and took care of all of the mess. They make sure all of the camp areas are clean every single day. And what was sad to me was that they have to do that at all. I think we as hikers should be more conscientious of our garbage, and we shouldn't be leaving that trash. That should be a given. But the other thing that Kilimanjaro does that I was so impressed with is at the end of the hike, we saw over to the right where the garbage was, and they actually count every piece of material that you take with you on the hike. When they take food up on the hike, they account for that food. And when they come down, they have to show them a peanut butter jar, whether it's full or empty. They have to count that peanut butter jar. They have to count the honey jars. They have to count anything with plastic. They have to count it when they leave. They can't just hand them a bag of garbage and call it good. They go through their garbage. So they want to make sure that you're not leaving plastics on that mountain. They're very conscientious of the mountain. And I was very touched by how good they were with that.
It's amazing. Kelleen, can you tell us a little bit more about the porters and the guides and the employees that were sent with this company?
Like how many and stuff? Yeah.
So there were 12 of us hikers, and we had 65 porters and guides helping us up the mountain. They all had different jobs to do. Like at one point in time, they had to restock the food, probably because of me, but they had to bring up food, bless their hearts. They came from the bottom, came up to where we were at, and in one morning, and they restocked the food, and then they hiked back down that same day. These porters are just like fast. They just run up and down that mountain like nobody's business. It's crazy cool. And then the porters they are there to carry all of your things. So we actually, with our company, we had our own bathrooms. I want to tell you about the bathroom situation. So on Kilimanjaro, on certain hikes, on certain trails that you can go on, well, all of them actually have a bathroom that you would never want to step foot in. They're so gross. They are so gross. So the companies will actually bring a porta potty with them, and they have a little tent that goes over, and you have your own bathroom. We had 2 of them with us for 12 people. We had 2, and they're full toilets. They flush the whole 9 yards. It's amazing.
Wait, they carry
They
toilets
carry
on their
toilets.
backs?
How heavy are these toilets?
Oh my gosh.
And then they have to carry out
Oh, the waste.
The
people.
waste. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Wait,
it
do they
goes
carry it
into
all the
a-
way up the mountain and then back, or do they run it off the mountain?
They carry it up
Oh.
and back. They have it in a container. We saw the containers that
Oh.
they actually carry down what we've discarded. So, and so you have your own bathrooms. Other companies, if you don't pay the $500 to have a bathroom, you don't get a bathroom. And then you have to use the public bathrooms, and they're awful, just awful. So you don't want to do that. But that's the porters. The porters carry all your stuff, and they carry it on their neck. They carry it on their heads. You see people carrying food on their heads, like 5 and 6 dozen eggs sitting on their head as they carry it up the mountain, and they go up really fast. It's crazy. And then they put a pack on their bodies. They don't allow backpacks like my backpacking backpack that I go backpacking in the Utah mountains overnight or whatever. They don't let you take those. You have to take a 145-liter bag. It's just a big duffel bag, and you can take 33 pounds in that duffel bag, no more, for the porters to carry, because they limit now the amount that the porters can carry. They didn't used to, and people would pack those bags with 75 pounds worth of stuff, and they would have to carry that much in one bag, and they carry multiple. So it's amazing how much weight they carry.
So, okay, so it sounds like there's porters that carry stuff, and then there's guides and cooks. Like
Right.
what are these 65 people doing for you?
So the guides are in charge of all of us. The head guide has to make decisions, hard decisions. Like if someone is sick, he has to tell them you have to go down. And he can't think about the amount of money you spent to get on that mountain. You are going down, period. They don't get it.
You're
They don't
done.
ask you a choice. And he has to make that call. And it's a hard call to make. And then he was telling me, he has to watch 65 people plus the 12. So he had to watch 77 people, make sure they were all okay, make sure they were being fed, make sure that they were cared for. And that was his job all the time.
So how many times has he hiked Kilimanjaro?
296 times.
Wow, my gosh. How tall is Kilimanjaro?
It is 19,300 feet.
And so how tall are the mountains in Utah?
The highest peak in Utah is 13,500 feet, and that's
Okay.
Kings Peak.
Okay.
And
you've done that?
I've done that,
Okay.
but that was as high as I'd ever been, is 13,500.
So you went
So I went
6,000 feet
6,000
higher.
feet higher.
Aw.
It was so cool. So the other guides are there to help and monitor everything. They've all got jobs to do, and they all do them. The cooks cook everything. And you guys, it was amazing. They are actually put through culinary school. The cooks are, and the presentation of the food is unreal, what they can do on a mountain. Like, they made lasagna for people, they made spaghetti, they did everything, and they made sure that I had no sugar and no flour and as many vegetables as they could. And that, I mean, they made sure everybody had what they needed. And it was really kind of funny, because when people saw my food, they were like, "Ooh, that looks really good. Ooh, that looks really good." And they couldn't eat it because
So
they didn't ask for it.
was your food different than
Totally
what everybody
different.
else was eating?
Totally
Like
different.
the whole time for the
whole
9
time.
days?
The whole time.
Okay, tell us
Breakfast,
more about
lunch, and
that.
dinner.
Yeah.
So my food was no sugar and no flour, and everything everyone else ate had sugar, and most everything had flour.
Right.
And I want to tell you the experience that I've had with this situation. And I have to give so much kudos to Bright Line Eating, because they taught me not to eat sugar and flour. That made me the hiker that I am today, because I've watched people both on Rim to Rim in the Grand Canyon and on Kilimanjaro, when they eat that breakfast and it's full of sugar, and they drink their coffee or their tea and put sugar in it, they've had a ton of sugar, and it's quick energy, right? So they hurry and they can get up and go right then. Within 2 hours, they're bonking. And when they bonk, they need more sugar. I watch them stop, eat a candy bar, and they get quick energy, and they go for a little bit, and they bonk again, and they're looking for another candy bar. That's how people hike. And I watched them struggle through the hikes because they were bonking, because they had so much sugar in their body. I really believe that the flour turns into sugar so fast, and our bodies just can't use it fast enough. I don't care if you're hiking 19.3, you still can't use the sugar fast enough to work it out. And it just gives you that quick energy, but it also drops you so fast. And so I am so grateful that my body has learned over the last 5 years to just be even. I don't have to worry about, I can eat my 3 meals a day, the same amount today as I do tomorrow, and I can hike 15 miles tomorrow, and I'm still fine on the 3 meals I eat, because the no sugar and no flour keeps my energy at an even keel all day long. I don't have to worry about
Awesome.
anything else. It's great.
Let's pause for a
We
minute.
have-
It looks like Beth's got a couple questions.
Yeah,
that
we've
she's
got a
gonna
couple
ask
of
her.
questions in the chat.
Mhm.
And so you kind of answered the question that came in from Jennifer about what did everyone in your group think about how you eat. So they were,
Yeah, they thought it was great. Now, they questioned me a lot. They did ask me a lot of questions, and they would say, "Oh, your program doesn't let you do this." And then one of the guides actually said, "We're not dieting on here. This isn't a diet. Don't diet. We're hiking Kilimanjaro. You can diet when you get home." And I said, "I'm not dieting. I'm eating." And he was not happy with me. And he would say, every time they stopped for a break, when people would eat a candy bar, he would say, "You need to eat. You need to eat." And I said, "I will eat when it's lunch." "Is it lunch?" "No." "Then I'm not eating. I will eat when it's lunch." And he'd say, "You need to eat." And I said, "I will eat at lunch." And I said that to him every day for 9 days. And he still came and said, you need to eat. And I said, I will at lunch. You watch, I will eat a lot of food at lunch.
Okay, another question from Jennifer. She says, can you imagine if you had gone back in 2018 before you lost your weight?
Oh my God.
How do you think it would have been different back then?
Good question.
I would have bonked. I would have died. I would have been eating those candy bars. I would have had to eat more and more and more, and I would have eaten sugar. My diabetes would have been out of control. It
Yeah.
was out of control at that time, and I would not have done well on the mountain.
Can you imagine activating your food addiction while you're on Kilimanjaro
Oh
and
my
there's no
gosh.
7-Eleven or
No,
anything to go
right,
get more?
Right.
That'd be
Yeah.
miserable.
Oh, it would be totally miserable. But they had plenty of sugar for you.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, they had plenty of sugar. It just every meal. And they gave them snacks. Every day they gave them snacks. And those snacks were completely sugar and flour every single day. The only thing that they did give them that wasn't sugar and flour was dehydrated fruit, which I don't eat dehydrated fruit. So I didn't take that either. They finally started giving me these little bananas that are this long, and they would put them in saran wrap and give them to me to take. And I would take them and they would be bruised when I came back because I wasn't going to eat them. And I told them I'm not going to eat on the trail, but they said, you have to take a snack. You have to take a snack. And then he got to say, you need to eat.
So Beth and I got to just visit with her and hear about her summiting Kilimanjaro. You guys, she beat out everybody. She ran at the end. You might have seen the little video clip if you were here on time. She was doing push-ups with one of the porters. And then what happened? You did more with all the porters?
Well, I did 10 push-ups with all of the porters. And then the head guide, he is so intuitive. Like, he walked up to me the first day I met him and he said, I'm going to be doing push-ups with you on the top of Kilimanjaro. He didn't know me. And he said that. And I said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do that. We're going to hike, we're going to do 10 push-ups at the top. And so I kept saying, let's go do the push-ups. Let's go to he's like, no, I got to do this. I got to do this. So he kept doing these other things. And finally I said, okay, Panda, we're doing it right now. And so I had already done the 10 push-ups with the porters. And then I did the 10 push-ups with him. And it was so fun. It felt so good to be able to do push-ups at 19.3 and not even be hard of breathing. It was so great.
That's preparation.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was
I
fun.
love it. All right. Question. If any of us wanted to do this, what would you tell us to do to get ready?
I would say hike as much as you can.
How often do you hike? Like, how did you prepare?
I
for
hike
it?
6 days a week. Didn't have to be really long hikes. It just needed to be up in the mountain. And I would make sure that you get some elevation before you go. You know, I hiked with a bunch of gym rats, and gym rat doesn't equal hiking. It just doesn't. I hiked with a marathon runner. He struggled. Marathon runners, it's not hiking. It's, you know, you're doing cardio and that's great. Your heart's doing it, but you've got to get your full body muscle into it. And that's what hiking does your full body. So it really is coming right down to it. I mean, you can do as many squats and lunges as you can. That helps, but you really need to go up and back down and up and back down.
All right. Karen DeBow asks, how do you handle the high altitude climbing? I'm sorry, let me go back. Jenny Mitchell asked first, how was your energy with the higher elevation?
It was fine. I didn't have any problem at all with the higher elevation. I took Diamox, and so did everybody else take Diamox. Diamox slows your breathing down. So when you're going up to the peak, that your breathing is slower, so you're not gasping for breath. The father and son I told you about, they were gasping for breath the entire time. They never did.
Even with the Diamox.
Even with the Diamox, it didn't do much for them. But they hadn't done any elevation hiking at all. So that made a big difference. The Diamox, I'm sure helped, but I know that living at 5,000 feet in elevation and then hiking 10,000 feet every week, it really helped.
All right. So Karen asked kind of a question with that. It's kind of the same, but how do you handle the high altitude climbing? I had a hard time at 11,000, but that Diamox helped, and also just your conditioning.
Right.
You were in great shape.
Being in
So,
the mountains.
all right. Jenny Mitchell, how did Claudia do? I was happy to see her in your summit picture. So proud of you both.
So Claudia struggled. This is my best friend.
How old is she?
She's 63 and she hated the mountain, and she just but she needs to go really slow. Jenny's hiked with us and Jenny hiked with Claudia, so she knows that she just needs to go really slow at her own pace and be calm. And she did. And at the last day, she actually had one of the guides come and be her personal porter. He carried her day pack for her and he got her on the top and we cried. I just bawled. I have a video just crying when Claudia got up there. She was probably about 20 minutes behind the rest of us. But she did great and she made it and she summited and we went down and she was fine after that and loved the safari.
Awesome. All right, one more question from Sherry. She said, out of the group of 12 hikers, did they all summit?
Yes, all 12 summited. The number 12 summited Stella, but the rest summited Hubru.
Okay. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about just, I don't know, your tents, your sleeping, your no shower for how many days? Like what was the physical?
So you don't have
cleaning?
a shower. I guess there are some companies who will take a shower for you. Our company didn't offer that, so we did not have a shower. The tents were great. We had fantastic tents. We could stand up. I could stand up kind of. I'm 5'9", so right in the middle. If I stood right in the middle, I could stand up. But they were very comfortable, very, very nice tents.
What did you
warm.
sleep on?
So they gave us a pad and then we also brought a blow up pad. Everybody had their own blow up pad. So we slept on 2 of those.
So how did that work each night? Did you just get up and go hike and they took it all down, or did you have to roll
We
up?
had to roll
pad?
up our own
Okay.
pads and our own and our own sleeping bags. And then we had to repack all of our clothes in our backpack and get that ready. And then, but as soon as I walked out the door, like with my pack, there's a porter coming to get it and taking it over to where it's staged.
Did you have your own personal, like, did you get to be good friends with, I don't know, a handful of them or all of them? Or?
I did. I went and said jumbo jumbo every morning to every single one of them. And I loved it. And I gave him knuckles and I taught him how to go give me knuckles, Beth. And so we did that every morning.
Did you bring any of them home with you?
I wanted them to come home so bad. I really wanted all of the porters to come home with me. I fell in love with them. I really did. They're great people.
What were the temperatures like? I'm just curious, like it was dry weather. You said it was not the rainy season at all. Did you have just tons of blankets? Was it cold during the night?
So the one saving grace was Claudia talked me into buying a water bottle for the bottom of our sleeping bag. And it's a water bottle about this big and it has a crocheted thing on the outside. And they filled it up with boiling hot water every night for us. We were able to put that in our sleeping bags and sleep that with our feet. It was great. I have a great sleeping bag my brother let me borrow, and it's a -20 sleeping bag. I slept fine. It was great. But we were there in a really good week where there wasn't a lot of rain and we had really pretty warm temperatures. We summited with, I don't know if you noticed, but on the summit, I started out with a coat and a jacket and I had like 5 layers on. But at the end of the day, I was down to like 2 or 3. You just keep taking layers off. You put them on, take them off, put them on, take them off the whole hike.
Cool. I think we'll pivot away a little bit from the physical, and I think we'll go up into the mental and the thinking, because those of you, Kelleen has guided all of you on here probably at some point. She guides a lot of us in the community, and she's such a positive thinker. So I'm just wondering if 9 days on the mountain, trying to manage being bright, hiking 19,000 feet, how was your mental? Did you have moments or times when you thought, I don't know if I can do this? Did any of the other hikers want to give up? I know Claudia kind of struggled, but tell us about your mental, health.
There was a number of the hikers that at some point in time talked about turning around and being done. There was one that she got sick on the 2nd or 3rd day and she's like, I'm out, I'm done. She was ready to be done, but they fought through it.
How did they do it? Did you go talk to them and
Yeah,
sing to them and cheer them on?
Yeah, I annoyed them and they let me know that I was annoying. But it's all about positive thinking the whole hike. And that's what the guides tell you. You have to think positive. If you don't think positive, you're going to stop. And the hiking is more about mental than physical. And they told us that from the get-go. You've got to keep a positive attitude and you have to be You just have to push forward and tell yourself you can do it. You can make it. It's going to be okay. And that gets you through every single day. They did an evaluation. They checked our oxygen level and they checked our heart rate. And then they also had us choose between 1 and 10, 10 being I need to call 911, and 1 being I'm doing great, or 0 being doing great. And every day they would go around the table at tea time. We had a tea time at 4 in the afternoon, and they would ask everybody what your number was for the day. And it was really interesting how those changed every day. Everybody's kind of changed every day. I pretty much stayed at a 0 or 1, but most everybody was up around, 3 or 4, 5. And the last day, some people were at a 12, wishing that someone had called 911, but nobody was going to come and get them. So they better get down anyway. So the helicopters can only go up to 17,000, I think, or maybe, yeah, I think they can go up to 17. So they can't even go to the top to get you. You have to come down somehow.
So I know this wasn't girls' camp where people sit around a fire and sing Kumbaya,
No.
but was there moments of spirituality, or where you felt inspiration or closer to God being up high up in that mountain? Can you talk
For
about the
sure.
spiritual side of it?
Yeah. So everybody talked about on YouTube videos that I watched, everybody talked about an answer that they got on the mountain. And so I was wondering, what answer am I going to get? What am I going to get from this? And I kept praying and asking Heavenly Father, what am I getting from this? What am I gaining? What answer to what question? I didn't even know the question to ask. And I had some people come up to me that were from France, and they were speaking French, and they looked at me in the eye, and she just kept talking to me in French as if I could understand her. And I realized at that point in time that I honestly need to look at other people's lives, and I need to see what they're feeling. I know I've done that same thing with English. I just look at people. I mean, even in Tanzania, I would look at people and I would speak to them in English, assuming that of course they knew what I was saying because they could speak English. And it didn't matter how fast I talked, they could still understand me, right? I just feel that way. And I realize that I need to stop feeling that way, and I need to look at what they're feeling and really pay attention to their lives and their situation, and humble myself and try and slow down a little bit and try and talk to them as good as I can, and have a conversation, even if it's with our hands, even if it's with our hearts, even if it's with our eyes. It doesn't have to be spoken in English or French or Swiss, Dutch. It can be spoken anyway. And I loved that knowledge that I gained on the mountain. It was a very spiritual experience for me. And there's something about hiking a mountain like this where you become one. And I felt one with Kilimanjaro. I would love to go back. I would love to hike that mountain again. I don't know that I will, because I have lots of other mountains I want to climb, but I do love Killy. I really became bonded with her, and it became a big part of my life.
Kelleen, what about your family? How did they respond? And did you get the support that you needed from back home?
It was really great. All of my kids and my husband were just so proud of me, and they just kept cheering me on. I didn't have Wi-Fi very often. Once every blue moon I would get it, but not very often. And so I would try and text. Most of the time it didn't send, but once in a while I would get one that would send, and somebody would send something back, and it was always very positive, and it was always very loving and very kind. And when I came home, I saw my son and my daughter-in-law and my little grandbaby and my husband standing there with a balloon and a sign that I hiked Kilimanjaro and that I did it. And it was so fun to see. It was just so rewarding. Yeah, that I knew that I had support here, and I had support with my Bright Line Eating family. That was huge. And I want to thank everybody for all your support with that, because you guys have been so caring and so understanding. And I'm sorry that I've talked so much about Kilimanjaro for the last 5 years. You guys have heard this from me forever. Now I have to come up with something else to talk about.
I have to tell you that Beth and I are connected with Kelleen in many ways on Marco Polo, and we had no communication with her for all that time while she was on the mountain. It was so hard for us, and we were saying we miss her so much because she's such a cheerleader for all of us. And then something magical happened when she got down off the mountain and got back to the hotel in Arusha. Bing, 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 bing on Marco Polo. And we got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. All of the videos came in that she had taken up on the mountain all at once. And we were just so touched because she was so grateful and so happy. You guys, this is what a true transformation is, that Bright Line Eating. And I wanted Kelleen just to share for a minute about her feelings and her gratitudes of having this amazing physical and spiritual and emotional transformation, that she could do this epic adventure.
You know, I do have to say, when I look back and I think of the picture of when Claudia and I first talked about Kilimanjaro, I had no business saying that I could hike that mountain at that time. And I could not have done it without Bright Line Eating. And the gratitude that I feel is so immense, because my body works. It works, and it works successfully and better than most, not because of who I am, nothing I've done. It's been because of the no sugar and no flour, and to watch my body function in a positive way, to be able to eat 3 meals and be successful in the movement that I do it's just, it's not real almost. It's almost like I'm watching an out of body experience, because I'm watching this physical body be able to do challenges that I would never have been able to do before. So it has nothing to do with the thin, it has everything to do with the free.
Yeah.
And being free of the food addiction, and being able to just go and eat my meals and not worry about food other than that, and not be constantly looking in my backpack for something to put in my mouth, not to constantly be wanting for something else. It was so incredible. It was just, I'm so grateful. So grateful.
Thank you,
So
Kelleen. We are
beautiful.
so proud of you.
Thanks.
And like I said, Kelleen has guided so many people in this community. And I'm wondering, Kelleen, if there's some sort of metaphor between, guiding people in Bright Line Eating and having these beautiful guides that just could show you where to go up on the mountain.
I remember a few years ago when they were changing the word to guide, and wondering whether or not to do that. I did a call on an accountability call, and I don't do that very often, but I got on an accountability call and I said, if I can give a vote, I want to call it a guide, because I have felt like guiding someone up a mountain, you do it from the back. You don't do it from the front. You get behind them and you support them and you help them up the mountain, and it's their climb and they get to go, but you get to come from behind and just help guide them. And you can guide without pulling them. If you try and pull someone up the mountain, it's not going to work. It just won't. You can't get somebody up there that way. Nobody has that kind of strength to pull somebody else up the mountain. It's no different in Bright Line Eating. When you're guiding someone, guide them from the back. Let them have the journey, enjoy their journey, and you just be there to help support them behind. And it works. It works every time. To me, that's why I really felt like guiding should be a better word than sponsor, because guiding is helping someone. It's just helping them through their journey.
That's exactly the kind of guide that Kelleen has been for me.
Thanks.
You're always behind me. You're always there supporting me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. So what now? What next?
Okay, so there were people talking about doing Everest Base Camp. I have no desire to do Everest Base Camp. There's other hikes, of course, around the world that people were talking about doing. And I just want to be on a mountain. I hiked this morning and I realized that I just love being on the mountain. It's not about what mountain it is.
What do you love about it?
I find time to talk to my Father in heaven, especially when I'm hiking alone. I find time to have a one-on-one conversation with him every time I hike. And I feel at one with the earth and the dirt, if you will, that connection, every footprint, every time I step. I feel that connection and I feel strength from it. I have really big feet and I always hated my feet until I became a hiker. And it's because my foot is solidly planted on the ground and I feel that connection with the ground and I just love it. I become one with whatever mountain I'm on and I thoroughly enjoy it. So anywhere I'm hiking is what's next.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Kelleen. We love you and are
Oh,
so proud of you.
thanks.
Would you be willing to give your number out for anybody that has questions about hiking or that's going to go on a big hike? I know there's a lot of detail to it. We
Sure.
watched Kelleen pack and weigh her backpacks for 2 weeks,
Wow.
trying to get to that 33 pounds. So there's a lot of
So
detail
hard.
to it. And if anybody would like to reach out to Kelleen, you want to go ahead and
Sure.
give him your number?
So my number is 801-668-4870. And you can text me or call me anytime. And I'm on Messenger. I don't do Facebook much. I'm sorry, but I don't. And Wendy kind of tells me if there's something on there that I need to look at, or she'll send it to me, which is so nice. But I just don't get on there. So, but I'm on Messenger and I love to Marco Polo. I think Marco Poloing is so fun. So you can always Marco Polo me or message me.
All right.
Yeah, thanks you guys for being here. Happy birthday
Yeah.
again, Beth.
Thank
Happy birthday.
So grateful that she's flying home to Arizona and I'm flying back to Alabama. In fact, Kelleen is taking me to the airport tomorrow and we're going to go on a hike before we
Yes.
go to the airport. So I'll be a sweaty, dirty mess on that plane going across the country. And Kelleen always says, I promise it's not that hard.
Not that hard. I promise.
You want to go with us, Beth?
And they'll say, liar.
Any last words for anybody that maybe needs a little bit of Kelleen inspiration before we
Just
say
know I
goodnight?
love you and I'm so proud of you just for being you and just for being here and trying. You know, you'll be successful as long as you keep trying. That's what pulls success. You just unstoppable. That's our word, right? Is just unstoppable and we just keep going. Just keep going forward and you'll make it to the top.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for spending time with us with Kelleen. Good night.
Awesome, Kelleen. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, we could do the accountability call. If you would like
Yeah,
to
everybody,
unmute unmute and congratulate
Say
Kelleen.
goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Love
to
it.
Beth.
Thanks.
Wendy too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kelleen is so amazing.
Bye.
Thanks. Thanks for
Kelleen's amazing. Have a great night.
This was
Bye.
fantastic.
Bye. That was
Bye, Connie.
wonderful.
Great, Kelly, you did an
Hi,
awesome
Mary.
job. We love you.
Love you guys.
All right, we stop recording.
Congratulations.
We're gonna put it on
That's
YouTube. We'll
wonderful.
send out the
Thank
YouTube
you.
link.
Good, because I missed the first half.
Okay, it's recording.